You are very inappropriate.
I like being inappropriate.
Broadscast is entertaining.
Come on, if I can't mess with you, this is not going to be fun.
Broadscast is thought-provoking.
That is a riveting revelation, Ms. Goldman.
Broadscast is unexpected.
Who do you like better, the person that people think you are or the actual you?
Oh, God.
Because they're nothing alike.
Broad topics, broad minds, broad hosts, but not just for broads.
We are man-friendly.
I hope to be.
I am man-friendly. I can't say the same about Kim. Wait, that sounded bad.
This is Broadscast with Kim Goldman and Jackie McDougall.
Welcome,
Welcome,
everybody.
hello. Thank you for
Hello.
being here
Thank you for having me.
on National Butter Crunch Day.
Is it National Butter Crunch Day?
It's National Butter Crunch Day. It's National Penguin Awareness Day.
Guys, just in case, it's January 20th, so not a lot's going on that we have to come up
There's
with.
nothing. Yeah. I had to search
Wait,
far and
I
wide.
love Butter Crunch. You mean like
I
a
don't know-
Dunkin' Donuts?
I don't know
You know,
what
I used to
Butter
work
Crunch-
at a Mr. Donut before Dunkin' took over, and they had Butter Crunch donuts, and they were to die for.
Did you know I used to work at a bakery? And I did donuts. When I was when I didn't do the donuts. I just had a flash of American Pie for anyway. That was a weird. I'm sorry, I'm having a moment. Yeah, I worked at a bakery in Chicago called Jelly Bowl Bakery. That was my first
Jelly
job.
Bowl?
Jelly Bowl Bakery.
I worked at Mr. Donut. It was my favorite job of all time.
Yeah. Actually, it was not my favorite job because I hated on Saturday mornings. I had to be there at 5 o'clock in the morning, time to make the donuts. And so, and then the people would be at the door banging, ready for their donuts. And then they would stand there and I had to get them like a baker's dozen. And then they'd say, okay, I'll have the glaze. No, I don't want the glaze. 2 spring. No, I don't want the spring. And then it was and the lines
I bet
out
you
the door.
snorted the heck out of them.
I know. I just snorted. So yeah, I was like, okay,
Wow.
how about I just make a surprise for you? Yeah. So anyway, welcome to Butter Crunch Day.
Welcome to Butter Crunch Day. Can I just toss out real quick before you get to the rest of the days that today is? That I issue a challenge to one of our listeners because you know how there are those people who are not professional editors who go on, they do stuff on YouTube and they're like amazing. If somebody could take our show and the last 100 and something episodes and create us a new open that isn't 7 years old or whatever that thing is.
Yeah.
That'd be much appreciated, and we'll give you a shout out on the air. So you've got lots of content ready. Go. Okay, back to your days.
No, wow. Okay, so it's National Look for an Editor Day as well. I'm gonna put that on a calendar. Yeah, it's Penguin Awareness, National
Penguin Awareness.
Disc Jockey
Are
Day.
the penguins feeling like there's not enough awareness?
I think so. They're feeling a little
They are so
underappreciated.
cute.
I know. They are
Salute
so
to the
cute.
penguins.
Salute.
Hail to the penguins.
It is also National Cheese Lovers Day, which I, for one, will be partaking in because I love me some cheese.
Do you?
I do.
Why is cheese so much better when it's heated?
Ew, really? What
Yeah,
kind
like melted.
Oh, you mean
Yeah, like if you took a piece of cheese, it's okay, it's all right, but
Yeah.
but then you put it under some fire or roast, whatever you do to it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I don't know.
This is not what the show is about today. Sorry.
No, we
digress.
actually we are recognizing National Stalking Awareness Month,
Yes.
which is important to do. So later in the show, we will have an expert on. Kathleen Baty, the safety chick, will be here to talk about personal safety and courage and empowerment and all
got
sorts of
personal story that's amazing.
Yeah. So she'll be here to give us some great tools and tips on how to keep ourselves safe during National Stalking Awareness Month, but
Great.
all months throughout the year. So, yeah, are you boycotting today on Inauguration
No, so
Day?
if you're listening live, which you are in, I don't know, 9
The world.
plus nationally and internationally online.
Well, maybe not in Russia.
A couple of our stations pick us up for later. So you guys also can listen live if you head over to Spreaker on Fridays, but whatever. So you're listening to us anyway, right? So today's the Inauguration Day.
Inauguration is a hard word to say.
Inauguration. Do you say inauguration or inauguration?
Inauguration. I say inauguration. What did I say?
I
don't
say
have any-
inauguration.
Oh.
So it's just I'm from Boston, you're from Chicago. It's a different thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, I'm not boycotting. First of all, I have a Chinese exchange student in my house, and that is not the punchline to a joke. This is just something that I like to stress myself out with and add to the family and the chaos.
Right.
But he's a lovely boy. And this morning before school, I felt a duty to turn on the television. I mean, this is his American history. Like, he is here to, engage and learn our culture, and whether we like it or not. But I have to tell you, I am not boycotting it, because I have flipped. And before you lunge over the table and beat me up, that whole "not my president," like, as of today, he is our president. Do I like it? No, I do not. But instead of, and all the marches that are happening and all that stuff, like, I really have a lot of respect for that, because we are Americans with freedoms to do so. Mm-hmm. I think now my flip is, okay, you are now our president. What are you going to do? You hold his feet to the fire, hold him accountable, march if we have to over certain issues. But the just because he is a hateful, spiteful human being who takes it to Twitter, I don't think that I have to be a hateful, spiteful person. I just have to stand up. And you so eloquently wrote about it on Facebook yesterday. Yeah. Because you're always much more eloquent than I am. But, I'm just going to be the best American citizen I can possibly be. Yeah. And no longer say "not my president," because he is.
Yeah, I never really got behind that whole "not my president." I'm not much of a marcher. We've talked about this in general. I'm also not much of a hashtagger. Like, I'm not, like, sometimes the funny ones, like that trend on Twitter, but the rest of them, I don't know. The "not my president" never really stuck with me. But I feel like maybe not the president I voted for, but I still am a citizen. Like, that never really worked. But I feel I'm not necessarily boycotting, because I have work to do, and I have to be on the computer, and I can't necessarily shut myself off, and I don't want to shut myself off. I'm just choosing not to watch the inauguration ceremony today, which I'm slightly disappointed in, but I haven't felt very patriotic when it relates to him. Mm-hmm. I have watched everything. I've been watching all of the confirmation hearings. There is no part of me. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So there's no part of me that has not paid attention, that has not been present, that has not educated myself. I'm taking a time out for on top of it. I have plenty of work to do today, but like I'm just opting out of watching the ceremony because I'm not there yet. I can't. I just don't want to. So it's not necessarily a boycott per se. It's because like I said, I've been paying attention. I've been reading, and I mean, if you've ever sat down and watched a confirmation hearing, you know that is some firm commitment to politics. So it is not for a lack of wanting to understand how things work. It's just there is a pomp and circumstance that I love about being sworn in, about Stanley Cup championships, like parades after you win the Cubs, win the I love that. I'm not feeling excited to watch the transfer of power today. Right. I've accepted this is what we're doing. I know my role. I know my place. I know what I want to be doing. I know what I'll be paying attention for. But
do you think that, first of all, if you have any feelings about anything we're talking about today, reach out to us on Facebook, Twitter. You can always email us. We respond to all of our emails in time or as quickly as possible, broads@broadscast.com. But we want you to be part of the conversation. I just totally lost my...
Well, we also put a request out on Facebook and Twitter that if you are marching or you're going to any inaugural events, that we want to hear from you. We are absolutely... Part of the reason that we started the show is because we want to make sure that we are listening to all sorts of opinions and thoughts and backgrounds.
There are people out there who are thrilled.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. Like, I really... I'm entitled to my opinion, but as I wrote in my post yesterday, I absolutely ask questions and want to hear from others so that I don't live in my own bubble, right? So if you are going to an event, or if you are marching, we want to hear from you. We are not all about bashing. We really are about loving and open and compassionate conversations. So,
well, two things. Number one, I think if Melania doesn't break down, like even from this morning when I started seeing her, like I feel like he's completely just ruined her life and that she's going to have a nervous breakdown, but that's a whole sidebar. But what I was going to say before is, do you think because you were thrust into this role 20 plus years ago of being an advocate and being a voice for other people who don't have a voice, that you don't necessarily, like, you've never been that person to be picketing outside of, you know, even like all the work you've done with domestic violence, all the work you've done with victims, like you're not like with the sign and screaming and yelling at the TV.
Yeah.
You've always done it with such grace. And I think that's why people listen to you, that even when it comes to stuff like this, you're just not that person.
Right.
And I think that you are effective in the way that you know how and that you are comfortable. But if you are one to get on a soapbox, you know, not just to hear yourself talk, but for real, real, I don't want to say change, but progress, then I think that like we all need to find what our way is to be an advocate.
My whole thing, as per usual, like even on, 9/11, you put your flag out, like people feel very, patriotic on that day. But I also feel like that shouldn't be just one day. And so I feel like on the march, march, do what you need to do, but don't relent. Like, and how long have you known me? I've always said, make sure you know who you're voting for. Mm-hmm. Go to jury duty, like participate,
right.
And
especially in those local elections.
The local elections. And I've always been like that. So for me, marching, we talked about this, I think last week. I also have crowd anxiety, and I don't like big crowds. I don't even I love sporting events, but I get nervous when we're all trapped in a line.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what's happening to me as I get older, but
I couldn't agree more.
And there is a smidgen of fear, I think, of putting myself in a situation that I know is meant to be peaceful, but I'm also we're starting to get emails about safety and know your rights and don't talk to anybody and get a lawyer and don't I started. I'm I don't want to have to prepare myself for safety, which is actually very timely that we have Kathleen on today, but. So I feel like there are other ways to pay attention and to resist whatever it is. There's lots of people that were in this same conversation 8 years ago. And so I think I had a conversation with a friend yesterday who is a staunch Republican, and he's like, I just need to let this be what it is. And I said, I think there are a lot of people operating in fear. And when you are fearful and you don't have all the information, it causes you to feel irrational and out of control. And so I think if we can all take a breath, pay attention, don't be complacent, know the difference between what Obamacare was and the Affordable Care Act. They're the same thing, P.S. And if you don't know that, you need to be reading more. But I think that, we can't become complacent and then complain. I mean, that's sort of the essence of what I wrote yesterday. There are lots of people that were picketing and protesting that didn't vote. I don't think you get to do that. If you don't participate in the process, you don't get to then rebel against it. Right. My opinion.
Yeah. So it's hard, and I see a lot of people comparing this to what they went through 8 years ago, Republicans. And the thing is, I can only speak for myself. I love many Republicans in my life, and we may not agree on issues. You don't have to be pro-choice, or you don't have to I can agree to disagree. It's the hate speech. It's the kind of the leading other people to act in a way that is so damaging to our country and not putting an end to it. He is President Trump. It is his responsibility to not create this. You cannot yell fire in a movie theater, He creates this, he gets people riled up. And I really hope that he listens to the advisors around him and takes it down and really tries.
Yeah. And I guess that's where I struggle a little bit because, people keep saying to me, you need to respect the president. I'm like, no, I don't. I mean, I respect the process. I respect the presidency. I think respect is earned. So the respect the president thing, I'm on the fence a little bit about that. But I will learn to deal with whatever it is that we're put in. But I also think that to expect him to be something different than he's been for all the time that he's had a public career, and for the last 18 months since November 8th, he's really done nothing to quell our fears. So now to suddenly expect on January 20th that something is going to shift, I think we have to figure out how to take, let some of it roll. But I think part of it, we are knee deep in a world that is all about social media and the trolls on the internet. I mean, I had someone literally email me and tell me that Trump was part of the conspiracy that killed my brother. Oh yeah, I've gotten some of those. And then I've also had someone tell me that I have no place talking about politics because I am just a victim and I should just stick to that. So, the internet is a wealth of fun.
I didn't realize as people we're just one thing. And
so that's what I'm saying. So I think that, we have to just breathe a little bit and choose your battles and know where you can be most effective, and to hope that he becomes, maybe, I don't know. I guess I wish that would have happened a lot sooner.
I'm still amazed that people are like, how do you go from, I'm just living my life to who I have to email and let her know what I think? Kim Goldman. Trust me. I just find that to be kind of
trust me. And I just as a sidebar, this person emailed me and then chose to tell me that he works for President Obama and he did not vote for President Trump, but he is offended at the position, the sports politics the approach I take, and that it demeans my brother's memory. I mean, he went on and I was like,
my goodness.
Are you really? And so I engaged. I wrote one version and then was like, okay, that's not helpful. And then I wrote
the Jackie version.
Yeah, the Jackie version. And I just wrote back and I said, knock yourself out. I appreciate your words, but to categorize me as only being able to think about one thing when I've spent the last 20 some odd years being an advocate for all things, okay. Right. And then he wrote back. He's like, I didn't mean to offend you, but I do think it's really demeaning to your brother's memory. That blah, blah. And I was like, all right, we're done. But wow. I think, I think that it's a time that'll be interesting. And I think that I really did learn a lot in the confirmation hearings.
Shockingly. Apparently, once again, I feel like when they say you can be anything you want, the confirmation hearings have proven
that,
that, people nominated for certain positions, it's ridiculous. But I want to talk, our guest is going to be on in just a few minutes. I want to talk for a second about the word change, because a lot of people 8 years ago and a lot of people today are like, I support it because I just think things need to change. Mm-hmm. So when did the word change automatically mean better? You know what I mean? Things change every single minute of every single day, and it's not always for the best. I understand that if you are in a situation that isn't positive, but you can get into worse situations. I feel like, when did we start making choices based on this is just different, without knowing it's better, or, you know what I mean?
Well,
I'm fascinated by that.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is sort of what I was thinking about on the way over here today. I think for the last God knows how long that we've been able to be on Facebook and social media and stuff. And this is partly why the hashtag thing drives me crazy, because I think people buy into certain things because it's easier than thinking past it. So listen, Obama ran his whole campaign on hope and change. Yep. And people bought that because it's easy. Make America great again. No one really knows what that meant. And when someone's like, wait, I thought we kind of were, make America great, build the wall. No one really pays attention to what it means beyond that, because it's just easier to hashtag that. And just, so it goes back to, again, what we've always said is just be involved, educate yourself. Don't
are we that stupid though as Americans?
Yes, I absolutely think that we are. The fact that we can only communicate on Twitter in 140 characters and we've figured out how to I've learned how to change spellings and manipulate our language to make sense on Twitter. Who does that? And that's how kids communicate to each other. We really have, I think, created an environment where we can't put full sentences together. We don't even have to type anymore. We can just speak. We don't have to use the dictionary because it autocorrect. I really do think that we have dumbed ourselves down as Americans. And I hope that changes, because I think we're much smarter than that. I just think it's easier and not to be sometimes. And we choose to hear what we want to hear. And that has been what's so fascinating to me on it, quite frankly, when I've been watching the confirmation hearings, how different people view what they hear. Geraldo Rivera, who I've known for a very long time, during a confirmation hearing of, oh my gosh, I'm totally forgetting who it was now, but I watched it live. So I'm fully getting behind myself. He tweeted something that was not at all what the person said, and then like was retweeting. I'm like, no. That's not what he said. I watched it and I'm thinking that's what happens. People hear what they want to hear. Right. And now he's perpetuating this myth, which I quoted it. Like it wasn't even close to what Geraldo Rivera said. And that I'm thinking, you know what? People hear what they want to hear. You interpret it through a lens that fits your lifestyle, your experience, your belief system, and then you tweak it so that it feels good.
But we don't even question, like, so, you know, Geraldo's followers, they'll just retweet and they'll do their thing. Yeah. And, is there anybody out there at this point that actually, you can't just trust that stuff. Like just because you support, like just because you follow him or just because you follow, other media personalities, it's just,
but I think
they all want to be first. That none of them are accurate.
And I this is part what I wrote about yesterday, that we're all coming from an emotional place too. Right. That it's hard sometimes to be thorough when you are emotional. And you do this. You taught me this a long time ago to count. To assess a value to crisis, and I've always sort of been like, okay, let me just rethink. So when I saw that tweet from Geraldo, I'm like, wait, is that what I heard? Is that what he said?
Advice.
So I went
explain that for a second, because that was a really good.
So a long time ago, when you and I first met, you have 3 kids. I have 1. Your kids are younger. Your 2 youngest ones are younger than mine, obviously. And there was something that happened with one of your kids, and you said on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being
1 to 5.
Oh, I thought it was 1 to 10. 1 to 5. 1 is I stubbed my toe. 5, the house is on fire. Where are you on that scale? And your kid took a moment to assess, okay, the house is on fire. My toe's not stubbed. Like, where am I in here? And then
I think we're out of cereal or something.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and so it really was an opportunity just to breathe and to like assess how crisis, and you didn't take away from whatever that child was feeling, but you just put it in perspective in the big picture. And I think, I think all of us could use a moment to determine if our toes are stubbed or not.
And honestly, I mean, some of the things, total sidebar, but some of the things I've learned are, being the mother of a child with autism, they're great skills that we can learn with, any child really.
Right.
So, but without further ado.
Duty. I just like saying duty. Yeah. Nothing reflective of our friend Kathleen Baty, who is joining us. She is the safety chick, which I love. She is the founder and CEO of Safety Chick Enterprises. She is, which this is also badass. She's working with the TSA, the Transportation and Safety Administration, and the Department of Homeland Security. She will be a moderator for an anti-terrorism training and education video that's coming out this year. She's an author, she's an advocate, and she is a survivor and crime victim survivor herself. And she's our resident expert on personal safety and here in recognition of National Stalking Awareness Month. So Kathleen, welcome.
To the show.
Hello.
Hi. Did I forget anything in your stellar bio?
Well, I'm a good dancer.
Oh, sweet. We all need a little bit of grooviness in our. Are you quiet? Talk a little bit louder.
Yeah, you're gonna have to like belt out your voice.
Oh, you
today.
Can't hear me?
No, you're a little quiet.
Hold on. It's these pesky. Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Welcome to the show, Kathleen.
Thank you. Much better.
That's much better.
I'm sorry. I was traveling and had these terrible headsets on. Anyway, so yes, no, I think you pretty much covered it. The TSA, the Homeland Security videos, are actually up on their website now, and we did a project this last year just updating and really, because people always ask, what do we look for in terrorism? Everybody always wants to know that, and so we started this project. And we started, with curriculum, and we have experts from every different, transportation authority, all the different subway, trains, all that stuff. And we would start the project, and then, oh my gosh, San Bernardino happened, and then Paris happened, so we had to keep going back and redoing the curriculum, and it was crazy. But it's up now and good, and hopefully it'll help some people sort out how and what to look for and help us prevent these horrible acts from occurring. So.
Wow. So. We'll definitely link to that on our website, but take us back to the beginning, before you were kicking butt around the world. How did you get into this business?
Well, I was a stalking victim for a period of 15 years. And in that time, way back when, there was not even the word stalking. It didn't exist. And there were no laws that made the behavior any more than a misdemeanor or violation of restraining order. So I had to learn. I had this guy that I'd gone to high school with that I had no relationship with. He fixated on me. I went to UCLA. He fixated on me my junior year of college, and really would show up at my door with semi-automatic weapons, knives, handguns. And it's a very long story. How many hours do you have? But anyway, so really in all that time, I was in my 20s going to college. I was a cheerleader, having a blast, but the whole time, looking over my shoulder and living in fear. And I had to learn every possible aspect of personal safety, from the obvious self-defense to how to keep my personal information private, to how to secure my home inside out, how to work with law enforcement. Because, again, when there's no laws, when there's no teeth to protect you, you learn the hard way.
Right.
Some learn the even harder way, right? So, I just really became my own case advocate and learning the system and the process of restraining orders and all of that. But in May of '90, he came into my home and tied me. He surprised me, and I walked in, and I turned around, and he was standing behind me with a knife and held me hostage for about 45 minutes, tied me out, took me out at gunpoint, and big police standoff. And luckily, I escaped unharmed, and he went off to prison. But shortly thereafter, I was contacted by Ed Royce, who is now a U.S. congressman, but at the time he was a state senator out of Orange County, California,
right.
trying to pass the nation's first anti-stalking laws. And he asked if I would go up and testify in front of the state Senate on behalf of the law, which I gladly did. And from there, it kind of catapulted me into the title of, the crime victim, the face of the anti-stalking law. And so I did. My background was in television. I was down in LA, and I was a dancer and actress and all that. And so I felt very comfortable on TV and very comfortable articulating the message. So I did every national talk show known to man. And Kim, as you know how that goes. You do the dog and pony all around the country. And it really... and then I started training law enforcement, because what happened was the law passed in all the states. And so now we formed this team of experts in stalking. So I was kind of the civilian voice, right? And then there were the experts, the forensic psychologists, the detectives, the law enforcement, and all of that. We started a group called the Association of Threat Assessment Professionals. They're founded out of LA, but it's a international organization now. But so, I would go around the country and train law enforcement, and I would sit in on all these incredible conferences and things on experts in school shootings and domestic violence and all this. And I had all of this information, and everything I'd ever read about personal safety was always so negative and daunting.
Right.
And it was always, delivered to fear. And I'm like, we as women just don't respond to that. We respond to empowerment, like You Go Girl, Sex in the City, Charlie's Angels. So my passion, and it started, in right when all this happened, the day that I went up and testified and the law passed, it was like a huge weight was lifted off my shoulders. And I still get emotional about it, because living in fear is just debilitating, and you don't even realize you're living in it until you are not. I guess is the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was my power, and it really became my mission. And so I started Safety Check because my goal and my passion is to change the way that personal safety and crime prevention is delivered and embraced by women and by everyone. And so I wrote a couple books in a very positive, proactive way, and now I do TV. I do the Today Show, featuring like all kinds of different products and things, safety products for whatever, and just showing everything that's out there, but mainly to get people to start caring about their personal safety. And it's all about just making smart personal safety choices, because 9 times out of 10, you wouldn't find yourself in a dangerous setting if you weren't there in the first place. And so it's just kind of, that's been my message, that's been my passion, and that's kind of how this all came to be.
Yeah, well, that was a much better bio than I gave you, so thank you for that. No, I think, what, it's interesting. I think that, it's something that all of it struck a chord, but the one thing that you said specifically about you don't know that you're living in fear until you're not anymore. Having experienced that, can you, like when you're out there talking to law enforcement or lobbyists or legislators or whatever. Is there a way for you now in hindsight to be able to articulate what that fear looked like versus not living in it?
Yes. In fact, I do a lot of mother-daughter, adolescent girls and their moms. That's actually my favorite audience because I wrote College Safety 101 for girls going off to college because I'm trying to get them, to have street smarts before you have to learn it the hard way, right? And the best, and I always say this, and I go into more detail when I'm speaking, right? I go into more detail about, all of those different incidents and what it feels like because I can tap into it like it was yesterday, right? But it is this, my life was, when he was missing, let me just explain this one. When I got a call, he had been arrested for violation of restraining order in January of 90. I had just gotten married. My ex-husband played for the Miami Dolphins. He was a professional football player, but we were living in Northern California. And so in January, my stalker got arrested for violation of restraining order, okay, and thrown in jail for 4 months. He got out in May. My ex-husband had to go back to training camp in Miami, so I was home alone in our house in the Bay Area. I got a call from my stalker's probation officer saying that he was missing and that he had been acting despondent, and he really felt like he was coming back after me.
Oh, my gosh.
So I lived for 5 days like a hunted animal. And that is what it feels like.
Yeah.
When you're a stalking victim, you are a hunted animal. And so all day, while you're trying to have a semblance of a normal life, like if you're a mother, you're going to the store to get your diapers and your milk and whatever, and just trying to take care of the baby, or, a career woman or a traveling or, a college student, you're trying to go through your daily life, but all the while you have that pit in your stomach or the tense in your spine, the chill down your spine. You're always looking on your around your shoulder. There's no sense of inner peace.
Right.
You're always on edge, and you're always looking. And that's what I try to teach. It's not about being paranoid. It's about being smart. It's about how to channel that, horrid, tense paranoia into power and take some control. I'll explain that in a second. But so when he was missing, I would in the middle of the night, if I heard a noise, I would crawl through the house on my stomach and just tense and look out the windows, waiting to see something. Or in the morning, when I would open up my door, I would tense, thinking a bullet was going to hit me from somewhere, And then when I would come home from work, I would drive the neighborhood around the blocks, looking for his car, to make sure that he wasn't anywhere around. And so, just think of that. Think of living your life like that every day.
I mean, that's
and
it's unbelievable to have to live that way. But, you mentioned something a few minutes ago about the college students. So, yes, stalking happens to women and even some men before college, but I think that that's a great period of time to really empower and educate these women, because I know when I went to college, the last thing I was thinking about was my safety, to be honest with you. So I think a lot of girls, and as mothers, we send them off to college, and like, how many really arm them with enough information and education to stay safe? So what are some of the things that you do tell them?
Well, it's the number one thing, and is to actually care about your personal safety. I would say, hey, listen, you need to worry about your personal safety as much as how big your butt looks in your jeans. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's the same amount of obsession, because you want to have that innate, again, street smarts and really going down the path before you get there. Because that truly is, if you think about it, crime prevention, personal safety. Like, I'm developing a line of personal safety products, right? Safety, and there's all kinds of different products out there. And my thing is look, it's about buying yourself time. If you do find yourself in a situation, personal safety products are there to help you buy yourself time to get out of the situation. But the bottom line is, everybody talks about self-defense. Now, I'm sorry, I'm going off the tangent a little bit, but I tell every woman, I don't care how old, how young, how big, how small, every woman should take some type of self-defense. But personal safety is personal. It's what makes you feel comfortable. So, as a woman, as a young woman, if you feel like going and getting your black belt, have at it. But a lot of women aren't into that, and that's fine too. But I did when I wrote my first book, learned about all different types of personal safety or self-defense because I wanted to see what was out there to write about it. And the one that I came across that I really love is, it used to be called model mugging or impact. If you've ever taken self-defense, it's the ones where the guys wear the padded suits.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
Okay, so the reason behind that is, we as women, unless you grew up with brothers like I did, we don't know what it feels like to hit and wrestle and punch and all that stuff, right? And that's where the predators get us, because a lot of times women are shocked if something does physical happen and, they catch them by surprise and they drop to the ground. Well, if you just had a couple moves in your arsenal, right, you would know what it feels like, and you would at least have a quote-unquote fighting chance. But my point is, just to back it up what you're saying, to tell young women going off to college is really, it starts at the very beginning core about having respect for yourself and caring about your personal safety and understanding the importance, more importantly, the empowerment it feels like to be in charge of making your own personal safety decisions. Because all the lecturing, as we all know, look, I have 3 boys, right? And all the lecturing, and I'm the safety chick, and I always tell them they're grown, they're in college, and they're all football players and whatever. But I said, listen to me, you better not make any stupid personal safety choices because I don't care about you. You're on your own, but you'll ruin my career. So I'm just saying, it doesn't matter.
Think of my personal safety before your own, please. Yeah.
Right, and damn straight. Anyway, but no, the thing is we all know our own kids, rarely listen to us, right? So that's where I really have thrived, is hitting those adolescent girls and their moms, speaking on all of this, because I think that the most flattering thing that I've heard over the years, to me, that makes me so happy is the mothers or the daughters coming back and saying, oh my gosh, what was invaluable after you spoke was the conversation that she and I had on the car ride home.
Right.
Because it opens up dialogue because I make the mothers sit in the back, I make the daughters sit in the front, and I talk straight to the daughters. And it's funny, the mothers are always worried because I started like 7th grade on up. I believe by 7th grade, these girls have seen and heard a lot. And so, we cover the 5 aspects of personal safety. They're most vulnerable, and I get into it and talk about it and get in thinking about it. And the mothers are always like, do you think this is age appropriate? And I'm just like, honey, I hate to break it to you. Just listen to one of your daughter's rap songs, okay?
But not only that, like,
it's okay to,
whether, it's age appropriate or we should be thinking about things like this, like, it's not age appropriate to be attacked or to be stalked or to be raped, so
right.
Unfortunately, we have to talk about these things early and often because, nobody out there is worried about, like, if this is age appropriate to attack somebody.
Right. Oh, you know what? You guys, you know what I wanted to say when you were asking me about the college-age students and stalking? I have to tell you that is the most prevalent time to be stalked, in your 20s. Because a lot of times what happens is there's the domestic violence stalking, and I've always kind of, because being the one that was the advocate of the start of the stalking laws, right? And all the, oh my gosh, as you know, when you get into legislation, everyone throws in their 2 cents and it gets all convoluted. But to me personally, when I talk about stalking and educate about the crime of stalking, domestic violence stalking and stranger stalking are 2 different things.
Right.
Because it's just different behaviors you go about, because I consult on a lot of stalking cases. I am a victim's advocate, and I'll help crime victims, stalking victims. I help them manage their case, so to speak, and, get them whatever they need as they're being stalked, because a lot of times victims have no idea what to do. I mean, you really don't. And the bottom line is, in order to prove a case of stalking, you have to prove a laundry list of behavior. Well, doing that, you have to become your own case manager. You have to document. You have to go down. And to be honest with you, that is the key, because that is what gives you the power back. Managing your case, doing something about it, taking the steps. That's what, as we were talking about when we were talking about living in fear and not, the first steps are taking control, because when you're being stalked, you feel like just, hiding in a corner and sucking your thumb, right? And just shaking, going, oh my God, this person. But when you stand up and start taking, there is action you can take, proactive action that you can take. And that starts, as we all do, it makes you feel more empowered. It makes you feel like your life is more constructive and in control. And those are the steps that it takes to not let this coward psycho run your life. There are things that you can do to protect yourself. And it's like, no, it's me against it. No, you're not going to do this. And those are the kinds of things when we were talking that are the steps to get your power back. And it's the difference between living in fear and helpless and living positive and empowered.
So if you're just joining us, you're listening to Broadscast with Jackie McDougall and Kim Goldman, and we have the safety chick, Kathleen Baty on. Is it Baty or Batty? Baty, right?
It's Baty. It's really Gallagher. I'm divorced now. I wish I could go back.
Way to throw a wrench in there. Okay, Kathleen, she's talking to us about personal safety and in recognition of National Stalking Awareness Month. But Kathleen, I have a question. Do you? I know we've talked a little bit about how you talk to women and daughters. Do you have different conversations with men? Because we all know that women can be equally as dangerous as stalkers. That
yes.
a men can be. Is it? Tell us the difference between a man who is being stalked and versus a woman. Like, what do you have different? I'm asking a loaded question, but I hate to break it down to gender, but I think there's probably a difference.
Well, here's the difference. Men in general don't know what it's like to live in fear. Women grow up. Look, we all get it. As a woman, there's no way to describe it, but you walking down the street as a female is a lot different than walking down the street as a male. So let me give you an example. My ex-husband, 6'6", 250, right? He had no street smarts whatsoever. And I had to explain to him, like, there was no sense, because he never had a sense of being in fear because of his size, right? So a lot of men, it's very difficult for them to wrap their head around being stalked, a female that is doing something, because first of all, macho is the wrong word, because that's a negative, and it's not that. It's just a male. It's the way you're wired and grown up. So recognizing that you're being stalked, a lot of men are just like, well, listen, biatch, don't call me anymore or whatever, and thinking that they can protect themselves, not realizing that there could be a bigger threat, right? If these guys are married, or have children or have significant others, the way that I get to them when I do assess that you do have a credible threat going here, the way I get to them, as a matter of fact, another I'm totally have jet lag. Another example is that I worked a case with a priest that had a parishioner that was an obsessive, crazy stalker. And so the way I got across to him that he really needed to be in fear for his safety and let us come in and help him was, look, it's not just about you. If she's going to come in, she's going to mow down she could show up anywhere and hurt the people that are around you. So, men are innately protectors. So I believe, I have had success dealing with the male side of things, with explaining to them, like, look, they could do something to your children, male executives, CEOs, high profile athletes, those kind of guys. I explained to them that, look, this isn't just about you, and you can't handle this yourself, and here's why. And so it's kind of explaining to them that to take it out of being just about them, because it goes against their macho nature.
Yeah, I had
can protect themselves and their family.
A friend of mine is married, young kids, and the husband was receiving incessant text messages from a young girl who knew he was married, and he just kept responding, thinking nothing of it. And the wife was like, this is like borderline. They were happening at 10 o'clock at night, 11, midnight, and he wasn't thinking anything of it. And she's like, this is like crazy making at this point. And she knows you're married, and she kept trying to explain to him that this was borderline stalking and that this woman has another agenda for you. And he's like, no, we just know each other, and like totally blew it off. And she finally was like, okay, you are married and you have children, and now you're putting our personal safety, in jeopardy. And he was like, oh, didn't even occur to him. Like, he just wasn't
right.
Yeah. And so but to make your point though, is that he thought it was just affecting him. And, when she put it in perspective of how it was impacting her and potentially the kids, he was like, oh, wait. Oh, all right. Like that struck a nerve for him. Yeah.
Wow.
Right. So that you're exactly right.
When, often I would think that stalking doesn't go from 0 to 60. Like, what are some signs maybe that somebody has an unnatural, obsession or even just in the beginning stages, like with this guy that the experience you had, when you look back, were there certain things that you were like, this is just not right before it got to be actually scary?
Right. My case is really a landmark case because honestly, I started receiving weird phone calls. It was Thanksgiving vacation. I was home for Thanksgiving vacation, and I got a weird phone call. And then the next day, I saw him. He had a speech impediment, so I heard him speak. So it triggered, and I knew who he was, even though he was saying his name was different. So I had in my head, and then he hung up, but I had in my head who it was. So the next day I was driving down the street, and I looked, and there was a car next to me, and it was him. And then later that night, he came out of the bushes behind me and kind of confronted me, but I had my boyfriend with me, so it kind of scared him off. And then we walked into the house, and he called, and my friend was there, and she picked up the phone, and he said, "Tell the big guy I'm going to kill him. I have 180 rounds of ammunition, and I'm going to blow him away." And she said, "Well, Kathleen's going back down to school tomorrow. Just leave her alone." He goes, "Oh, well, we still have tonight. She's not going to make it back down there." So that was my first encounter with this person. So, that's very different than the gradual stalking case. And so let me just say a lot, the number one buzzword or question that I get asked is, how do I know I'm being stalked?
Right.
And so to that point, it's the moment that you feel in fear for your personal safety, that gut. And I always say intuitive body signals are the key to all crime prevention and personal safety. Because if you're not paying attention to your intuitive body signals, all the safety tips in the world aren't going to help you. And the problem with our world is that women especially are taught, if we're listening to that, the message is sent that we're being paranoid, which is absolutely the wrong way to think about things. Think of animals in the wild. That's how they stay alive.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So unless we start tapping in immediately, and that's the point I drive home, and I give examples when I speak to young women of, don't be oblivious. Pay attention to the chill down your spine. Pay attention to that gut feeling. Pay attention to that something just isn't right. Because 9 times out of 10, that'll save you before you have to, before you get there. So, to go back to how the laws read with stalking, so the moment that you feel in fear, but in order to really start the ball rolling, you have to make it clear to that other person that you want no further contact of any kind. Whether it be, and it's got to be in a safe way, right? You can't just like roll on up and say, listen, you have to, just decisively go about how I'm going to explain that to the person or whatever. Document all you can, but make it clear. Just like your friend, the guy, if he sent a text back saying, listen, I'm married, I want no further contact of any kind. And then she still starts, keeps responding. Well, that's your first red flag, that this person is not respecting what I'm saying. The second thing is, all right, so then they start coming, and it can even be, the nice loving or the I'm going to, CILL, right? All of that stuff. You have to start documenting. And then it's the vandalism or things missing or unwanted gifts, all those things. That's where I have a stalking log that I have in my books, and I don't currently have it up on my website. But anybody listening, if you go to safetychick.com or Kathleen@safetychick.com, anybody that has any questions or is a victim, email me and I'll get you the information. But, that's the point. You have to start documenting, and don't think for a second that you rationally talking to this person about, now listen, I really don't want you to call me anymore. Don't bother, because if it's a true case of stalking, these people are delusional. And whether you're saying F you, buddy, or please don't call me anymore, all they're hearing is encouragement. Right. And they are going to keep responding to you. So you must, once you make that clear, you cut off all communication. That's the key. And then just start documenting.
Right. So we only have a few more minutes. And I just, what are some of the mistakes we're making as women, but also mostly I think as those college girls, because if we're going to nip this at a young age and really care about our personal safety and teach our daughters and teach our sisters and just teach all of the women out there, what are the mistakes that we're making when it comes to our personal safety?
Well, again, I say it, and it's a buzzword that I keep saying, but it's really the concept to care about your personal safety, to make that a priority, to have respect for yourself and make the right choices. That doesn't mean you have to live like a nun. That just means making the smart choices. The biggest mistake we as women are making, are you ready? So I grew up with all brothers. My dad was a sports writer. I married a football player. I have all boys that are football players. I was a sports journalist. So I grew up around men. And the one thing that men do really well is that they can, sleep with their best friend's girlfriend. They can, do something naughty to their friends, piss them off, whatever. And they can, what do? They beat each other up. They scream at each other. They fight. And the next day, what are they doing?
They're back.
They're golfing, drinking beer. They're best buds, right? They let it go. And what do we as women do?
We hold a grudge.
That's the point. And the thing is, if anybody needs a buddy, it's women. And we as women have got to knock off the mean girl crap and start truly being there for each other and cut the catty BS. And, the worst thing that is happening right now, oh my God, you're going to get me on the soapbox, the freaking Real Housewives stuff, it has set us back. We want to talk about women's rights, this, that, and the other. Look at that crap. I mean, that is what, it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Yeah. And it's setting us back, and it's not doing us a service as the beautiful, strong, empowered women that we are, right? And so these girls are modeling this disgusting behavior, and they're not being there for each other. If I hear of one more case of, girls out getting drunk, and they let one of their girls peel off at 22, 23 years old down the street by herself at 2 o'clock in the morning, and she ends up, in a ditch, it's ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, and that's our problem. And so and I always say to the girls, look, you see a girl drunk at a party and she's, hammered and with this guy that she doesn't want to be with, you freaking throw her over your shoulder. She'll be pissed at you, right? And it'll be a big scene, but she'll thank you the next day. Yeah. And that's the key. We have to be there for each other to have each other's back. That's the missing link.
Absolutely. Well, Kathleen, thank you so much for joining us today. I mean, we hear all these months and it's national this and national that. And I think that, it's one of those topics that people think, well, that's never going to happen to me. But personal safety, I mean, people's personal safety, that's a huge thing that we have to think about every single day. And I love that you put it,
such relatable terms.
Such relatable terms, but that it's like you must care about your own personal safety. That's step number one. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for being flexible. I know you're traveling too.
Okay, have a great day.
Yeah.
So that is it for our show today, Kim.
All right, so we will put on our website all of Kathleen's information. You can find her at safetychick.com, and I think that's her handle on all social media. Mm-hmm. She does really put some amazing tips and tools, so we'll connect you with that. And as she said, she's an advocate too. So if you need help, if you need guidance, if you need resources, we'll make sure that we get that stuff for you. This is and connect you. I mean, one of the things that I learned in my training and in the work that I've done is that, when someone tells you that they think something's wrong, your answer is, I believe you, and to take it seriously and not blow it off and not just pretend like you're panicking. That, it's hard to teach gut instinct. I work a lot with teens and trying to teach them what that is and to pay attention to that. That's hard. But if we don't talk about it, then it makes it virtually impossible. So,
But the fact that it's tied into, our self-esteem and our self-image, caring about that is really important. So thank you so much for listening to today's episode and for supporting the show in all the ways that you do. If you'd like to be an advertiser, reach out to us, broads@broadscast.com. And we will be back next week. So we've got a really cool guest. Head over to our Facebook page and we'll be putting up we'll be revealing who next week's guest is.
Happy National Penguin Awareness Day.
I know.
Go eat your cheese and your butter crunch and then go kick some butt in a martial arts class. So there you go.
Yeah, and give those penguins a chance. Okay, guys? Talk to you next time.
You are listening to Broadscast. For more from the Broads, head to broadscast.com.